Elders and Mormon.
You know what?
Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'll sell any Bible.
Oh, sweet Jesus. They want to get back, you can roast them in the middle.
Sorry, it's Darren. I'll just drop him a text.
Dancing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're welcoming Kris from VanguardTactics here today. So, Kris, say hello, say who you are and what you do.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kris Owen, as you've alluded to. Nowadays I'm part of Vanguard Tactics. Some people call me Kris the Betrayer for that, but who knows? Yeah, so you've decided, apparently I'm interested enough to have me on tonight. So here I am. I'm going to waffle some absolute crap at you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a nice excuse for us to sort of chat with the other teams, and obviously, I think you're quite a recognisable face. And as Aaron said, although I don't think people heard, a pair of pecs on the current tournament scene. I remember walking into Leicester and being like, you know what? Hopefully, I'm going to be one of the healthiest guys in the room. And I see you, and I see one of the other guys, and I'm like, for fuck's sake! And then I walk up to my opponent, it's Tom Dooch, round one. So it's just like brilliant. Okay, I now feel tiny. But I think we're going to talk a little bit more about.
We had Big Ash, the big chocolate man, and he was the one that as soon as I walked in that room, I was like, right, I need to bottle him so I can be the biggest in the room for a start. And by the time I told him that, by the end of the night, it was just like, try it. No, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it always feels so embarrassing when you're like, oh yeah, no, someone is far bigger than me. Although when you're me, that happens quite a lot. Anyway, moving swiftly on from me trying to flex and failing. You've recently played in the South Coast GT. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your list there and how it went? Everything. Oh, you're back. We can hear you.
Open James Hobbs saves the day here. Seems that one, no one's listening to him again, and just like, can't answer.
Still no sound. Okay. Well, in that case,
how about this? Am I back now? I should be back.
No, your bottom left, your microphone isn't making any noise, is it?
I think it is now, though.
In the audio.
Oh, someone can hear you.
I can't hear him. James Hobbs, you just lied to us all.
Oh, we got all excited.
2 out of 3 will be.
Yeah, on the audio mixer, your bars aren't moving up and down.
How about this one? Now we'll try. Is that working?
It's because he'd got himself muted. What a silly sausage.
No, we normally have everyone muted. But anyway, it's working now. So we're going to go back to
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it's working now. Thank you, guys. Thank you, chat, the Hive Mind, for showing. Look, I have 1 week sick. I make sure everybody else fucking works. I come on here, balls it up, do this big fucking fancy intro. Nobody hears it. And anyway, we'll start again because I've got so many penis jokes that we just need to get through them.
Of course you do.
And anyway, let's get started. So, look. A good echo.
Oh, hopefully that's not me.
It's probably me. Hopefully this works better now. Anyway, come on, chat. Tell us. Help me work out my.
Now you're doubled. It's really not going well, is it? Oh.
No, this is terrible. We invite Kris on.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Chris, I promise we're more professional than this.
I've got it working. I've got it working. Right, we're going to stop. It's working.
You look muted again.
No, I'm not muted. I've changed the settings. It's fine. We've got this. That's it. Back in. I'm back in the room, baby. Anyway, let's talk about Toby. We're going to start with Toby, Kris, and then we're going to come on to you. We're going to talk about your massive chest. And there was some things, actually, we're going to go on to that. I've watched you on your VT stream. I did my research, and actually, we're going to go on to the chest joke. You said on stream that you want your chest circumference to be as tall as VanguardTactics' very own Mr. Handsome Jake. How are you getting on with that?
Yeah.
You said you were going to go do a pump, you were going to go measure, but then you never let us know.
So I literally forgot. So then when I went to the studio on the Friday, we did an unpumped measure. So I was at 125 at that point. So I've had a 7 centimeter increase since December. So we're working on it. We're getting there. We re-measured Jake. So he's still about 4 foot nothing, tallest dwarf I know. So we're getting there. We are getting there. I've got to the end of the year. That's what I'm now giving myself. I'm trying to be realistic because apparently I can't take Trent according to work. So.
well, you know, there's something about the military and drugs probably doesn't go.
Yeah. Apparently they don't go hand in hand, and I can't just be so out of breath walking up the stairs, or but just being considerate, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I reckon soldiers done up on Tren would be an absolutely brilliant idea. Why can't we sign that up now? Russians are definitely.
We're angry, but would be massive. So what more do you want from? I mean,
exactly.
World Eaters can do it, and Blood Angels can do it. So could the British Army, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Exactly. We just stick a little bit of cocaine in there as well. Sorted. Be grand.
Well, Jake is short. Master Will just said Jake is shorter than me, and I'm short. So we can only assume that. We did see him at Leicester, and let's give him credit as credit's due. He didn't look that small. And Kris, you are fucking huge.
Were you looking at Jake next to James Shapiro, or?
No, I was looking next to Boxy. So it didn't look too disproportionate. And there was another thing you said on that VT stream, which I also found really funny. And this was something when you playing Boxy, and you stood next to the VT sign, and you were like, the best thing about this is that I make Boxy look really small. And to be fair on him, he's in cracking shape. But there was something I saw, and I said to Toby, I was like, Toby, I need you to make this for me. So I've got a photo of you and Boxy, side-by-side comparison of the size difference. So here it is, Mr. Box. And
it's got the right colour skin for him as well.
Yeah.
Does he fake tan? Honest question, does he fake tan?
Of course he fucking fakes tan, Tony.
So he fake tans, but I sunbed. So depending on how fresh he is, depending on when I last came off the sunbed, depends who the most orange and slumming it in the room is.
I could just imagine you with those tiny little goggles on now, and please play your next tournament just wearing the tiny little goggles.
I'll bring them up. If I get to Oxford, we'll manipulate some parents. Be me off it, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll offer Zach a couple beers. That should do me some favours, and we'll get it going. But Toby was fangirling a little bit with me, and I was like, Toby, you need to give me some good memes. We got some great photos from him from our last doubles tournament, and one of my favourite photos is this one. And Kris, we sent you a photo recently where we did your head chop, because we love to chop our guests' heads off, put them on funny memes. So we thought, look, let's get you saving Toby right there.
Oh, I'm a big fan of it. You're feeding the ego.
God, Dante Payne says goggles and budgie smugglers, please no.
Yeah, you found
Should we all all turn up in oddballs and see who gets asked to leave first?
The funny thing is this isn't actually my favourite picture of Toby. Kris, do you want to see my absolute favourite? Do you want to see the Suck Toby picture that you saw earlier? which Toby is really terrified about seeing.
He doesn't know what it is.
Honestly, I make all of these memes and I have no idea what has become Suck Toby.
So when we were at this duty, I got 2 photos. That first one, which you saw, which you were saving, Toby, and then Toby sometimes gives me comedy gold, and this quite possibly is how many boys in the room could Toby suck off? Well, apparently that many.
You know what, Toby? James Hobbs in chat. He's got a spare 9-inch measurement dick. That you together forever.
I mean, perfect. Although 9, that's just a casual Friday, you know.
That's just average, isn't it?
Exactly. Come on, I'll roll big 12s. Let's go.
So, Toby, when I got that photo of you and then you sent that to me, you're like, oh, yeah, look, it's me in the chamber. And I was just like, that looks like a very interesting day with the boys, mate.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing is those 2 photos were exactly candid. I don't know if you can get the other one back up for a second. This was a genuinely candid photo against one of your teammates as well, against Paul Bridge. And I was genuinely, I was genuinely just concentrating, and I pulled that face.
Is this your go-to strike, like power pose?
Well, maybe that's how I go Super Saiyan. If I just go eventually in that pose, I'll.
Toby, you were a few sliders down.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, Kris, you go.
Just the same. No, go on. Sorry. So it was pointed out to me over the weekend that I power pose. So I always wear shorts, even though I've got tiny little chicken legs. And especially at the UKTC ones, there's always a chair, and I'm going to stand up quickly. Because, I might as well. I'm not wearing shorts, unfortunately. But Jake pointed out that whenever I'm concentrating, I've got a leg on a chair and I'm just like this. And I'm just staring at the table, or I've just got a leg up and I'm just staring. And the pair of them all week, I'm like, how many times can Kris make his power pose? Is he just trying to intimidate the opponent, show off a bit of fight, distract them? Who knows?
And does it work?
I kind of do, and kind of don't want to see you doing that in Budgie Smugglers.
Oh, I mean, I can take my trousers off if you like, Toby.
I mean, guys, we might have to wait.
If you want to monetize this YouTube, maybe I'll keep them on, but.
It's OnlyFans/VT Kris. If anyone would like to just follow that later. Well, very affordable, about 50p.
Yeah, I only do membership because I don't pay for my own Vanguard Tactics membership on YouTube. I just wait for everyone else to gift it for me. So,
I'm shocked. I'm shocked you don't get that for free.
I mean, I probably could if I asked, but that would also mean I have to watch VT content. So. I don't want time for that, do they? Hey, I'm sorry, Steve.
When we invited someone from VT on, I didn't really expect that opinion. So, in that case, I mean, that nicely segues us on then. How is it being part of VT? Try not to.
It is delightful. No. So I am clearly not a coach of any kind for VT. I will not pretend to be good at the game. My results from weekends past, prove that, and everyone that pays me knows that. But it's more of the. It really is. It's a bit cliche, I suppose. Is the community aspect of it? So some people will always ask, before you were with Liam Dempsey over on the Liam Dempsey channel. Essentially, logistics played a big part of that. It's like an hour 45 to drive there, get there, set up the stream, do the stream, drive back, hour 45 back. I was home anything between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, when I do that. And then, have to go to work the next day and all that sort of thing. So just for, wanting to play a bit more competitive rather than the sort of the garage hammer sort of selling point that they go for and all that sort of thing. I dropped out Liam Dempsey, and at the time there was absolutely no intention of flipping over to VT. Wasn't anything, no contracts were discussed or side swipes or sign-ins or anything like that. But me and Jake are very good friends outside of work. Handsome 40k man, and just one night I had to give him a lift to the studio because I wanted to get some models off him. I think, or I'd give him something, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to just come and commentary?" I'm like, oh, go on then. So I did commentary once before when Chaos Knights first released over on VT. And I said a lot of inappropriate things during that stream, and Steve never invited me back. So the one that Jake loves to remind people of is I numerous times said that he looked like a DOS bag full of yogurt when he was on stream. So like a sleeping bag. Steve's just stonewalled, just didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. And I mean, it continues now when I talk to Jake. People would say over the weekend, there's Ed and Manichima. I'm talking to Jake. I'm grabbing him. I'm grabbing him by the scruff. I'm pinching him, slapping his ass, just generally being horrible and a bit of sexual harassment. Bullying helps. And people just like, do you let him get away with this? And normally his answer is, I don't have a choice. He's just going to do it anyway. So the first time I ever met Jake and ever played Jake, he was playing Grey Knights at Factorum, and he was doing something. And I was just telling him, I was like, "Oh no, mate, you can't do that." So he stopped what he was doing. And he looked at me and was like, "What do you mean?" I was just like, "You can't do that. You can't put that there." And he was like, "But why not?" And I was just like, "Because I told you so." And he was looking at me. He was just like, "I don't know what to do. There's this big man opposite me threatening to beat me up that I've never met in my life." And I just went with that route, just like if I just assault him verbally. But yeah, sorry, digress. Anyway, so I did a commentary. Got kicked off VT, went over to Liam, logistics, took Jake home, or took Jake to the studio, and then for some reason I've just got invited back a few more times, and I've now got a VT shirt and walk around pretending to be sort of one of the team, if you like. I say pretending to be one of the team. Me and James kind of do the same thing there. We kind of just adopted VT ourselves, and Steve every now and again tells us we can't say things. James has James Hobbs in chat. He's got a very good opinion of people at WAR, and calling them the C word. I won't repeat on YouTube live, but
I really want to know what it is now.
No, Toby.
Oh, okay.
We can all allude to that one. But basically, what he's saying, Toby, is that he's calling them a cunt. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, we get it. So essentially, I like the start of the story. So you go onto VT, you get booted off because you're inappropriate. You go to Liam, you logistically couldn't go there. You come back to VT, and now every now and then you get the Steve look. Now this is something that I think anybody who watches the Vanguard Tactics, and I've been watching it quite a bit recently. Just because I like to show like other channel support, and we all meet you all guys at tournaments, so it's nice just to show support and watch and stuff. And he has a way, doesn't it? When you and Jake are going into one,
yeah.
The look.
You're forced to be. Yeah, the look of you need to be careful of what you're about to say. And at the end of the day, it's absolutely is Steve's baby. It's Steve's livelihood, and I love Steve to bits, and everyone there. But you just got to remember that there's only so much swearing, so much inappropriateness. When really, I suppose VT does have an audience of it's a mixed bag audience, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So you've got to be careful. And at the end, just a guest. He doesn't need me there. He obviously likes having me there, or supposedly likes having me there. So I'll keep it that way for now.
I think it's nice to have that dynamic though, right? Like sometimes when you go into it, it could be too serious. Streams could be too serious, and we got to remember this is like toy soldiers. And I appreciate there is a serious element to what they sell. However, I think your energy is quite good because it brings in a different layer of personality, right? Something that like people like myself who quite enjoy that kind of foolishness, shall we go? Like, let's be polite. Shithousery or whatever you want to call it. I quite enjoy that. That's a bit of me. I like a bit of shithousery, as you can tell with Toby, and as we can say with like Suck Toby, and also Tanker Toby. We enjoy those. Toby's. I feel like Toby actually you're sort of becoming my Jake at this point. After what Kris has just said, we'll come off of that.
It's normally what happens when the better looking one has to live in the shadow.
Yeah, that's
I'll
right.
take that as an
well, he's definitely got.
I'm also taller than him. We'll say that now.
You are taller than me.
We've got to give those milk eventually, haven't we?
Yeah, he's got the better hairline, that's for sure. I mean, I look very pale. I promise you, chat, I'm better since it's the lighting that makes me look as white as I am. But there's a reason why I pull off colourful tattoos.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if we're talking about glamorous setups for now, I'm actually sitting on the floor in my girlfriend's new house. So this is very, very professional, glamorous setup. While I have one dog over here kipping and the other one over here kipping.
That's no way
there she is, yeah. So it's the best way to be. But yeah, I'm sitting on the floor, which is why you've probably got a bit of a weird angle here.
So I'm gonna quickly digress a little bit because Kris, you've been dying to do this, and Dom has just come into the chat, and he's only on 4G. Dom, can you confirm that you can hear us? Because Kris has so disappointed you weren't on tonight, mate.
I did hear Dom bottled it. He didn't want to come on because he didn't want to have any arguments.
He was just scared of the grief that you was going to give him.
Yeah, well, we can't all condone making kids cry, can we?
Oh, Dom.
I have no idea what you're alluding to there, Kris. What on earth could that be about?
Talking about sportsmanship and having a great game, the South Coast GT just happened. You actually ran into one of our fellow Black Crow players, and from what we've been told, you had a fantastic game, very close game.
It was very.
And you sent me this photo, and I loved it. And I sent it to Toby, and Toby was like, "This doesn't need any editing." And I was like, "No, I've not sent it to you for you to edit. I've sent it so that I can like save it into an appropriate format." But we talked about the penis stick. Well, the penis measuring stick is right there, folks. This is Black Crow Gaming very own Will. He has a fantastic shirt choice. I mean, I'm a big fan. And Kris very, very well placed that phallic object in a very good photo.
It was the fact that he looked at me and was like, "What are you doing?" I went, "Aaron just wants a photo." There you go, mate.
So how does one get one of those measuring sticks? Like, what was the thought process behind? You know what the best way to measure however long that is, I'm going to say conservatively 3 inches. That's what that looks like, right? How did you get that?
That's Toby's idea of 9.
So yeah, well, as mentioned, so James Hobbs in chat there. So he's a bit of a dick when people play him. There's no other way of putting it. And so he decided, well, what other better way to show that off than having a measurement dick made? So he was the first one. He got a prototype made up. He's got a friend that does laser, acrylic stuff. But initially, it then went into the conversation of how do we actually, from the prototype that it was, to make a 9-inch, not a chode, but you also don't want a slim dick. So the testicle region is 3 inches, the tip's 2, and the length is 9. Just thinking, we did want the inch, but apparently no one wants to take just an inch. But yeah, so we then, as a group of us, so we got the Daddy Phil's Fun Bus, as we call it, which is just another small group of us. So we all got measuring dicks. But James does have 2 spare. So I mean, if we get to Oxford, he can get more done. There you go.
Hook me up. Hook me up.
I mean, you bust it out, and it does always break the tension a little bit as well when, I keep him, I've got my little bag of tricks or whatever. And so I was like, do a deep strike here. And I'm like, this seems relevant. And you just hand him a 9-inch dick and tell him to crack on. It normally gets a smile. I
feel like it's also something you should just not acknowledge in the slightest. Just start using it constantly and just being like, yeah, so I think exactly 9 inches, but just never allude to the fact you know exactly what it is.
Kris, have you ever? I was just going to say, have you? With like a pencil where you chew the end, or a pen.
So I was about to mention it myself. So over the weekend in my last game, I was playing like an MSU Yanari list or whatever, the hype at the moment is. And he was busy doing his stuff. And at this point, I'd already given him the dick, given it back to me. So everyone's had a bit. And I've stood there and I'm in my power pose, so legs up on the chair, elbow on the knee. But I've got the tip and I'm just banging it off my face. Just up in my face, and then I realised what I was doing, and I look up, and there was the actual UKTC photographer with the camera in hand. I was like, I hope you have not taken a photo of that. And I look at him, I smile, and then he looks at me and smiles, and he comes on over, and I was like, did you just take a photo of that? And thankfully, he turned around and was like, photo of what? And I was just like, we're not going to talk about it. It's fine. It's fine. You had me excited.
At least you didn't catch you choking. But I've got a photo of the actual game, and you know what? I'm going to give you some credit. Your guard army, very, very pretty. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the picture you sent me. But I'm assuming you've done this with an airbrush.
Yeah. So the army was actually So I was away, I was deployed with work, and my friend Paddy, who's still part of Liam Dempsey's channel, he was trying to do some commission work, etc. He's a fantastic painter, and I essentially wanted another army when I came home. So the Guard Army box set was just coming out at the time. Right. So I ordered 2 or 3 of them and some other models, and so my only brief to him was, I want to be able to do this myself, when I want to add stuff to. So I think the army that I'm running at the moment, I'd say probably about 30% of it was painted by him. But yeah, it's literally, it's a very, very simple airbrush technique. Start with black, build up a couple of greens, and throw some metallics on, really, and a bit of colour here and there.
It looks amazing, and what we see from your Instagram, guys, if you haven't already gone to, go follow Kris on Instagram. He's always posting stuff about content, what he's getting up to, and these are just some. But you're starting a new project, aren't you? Which we discussed earlier. Which feel free to talk about, and then we'll get into some more serious chat. So what's the new way?
So I have started Blood Angels. My World Eaters are just trash at the moment. It's either I'm not very good with them, or they're just not very good since they got their nerfs. And so that night I spent 75 quid on some models, and today I've just started cracking out 10 Assault Intercessors and a Lamarties model. Super simple. Sort of, I said to you earlier, I'm in a bit of a hobby slump at the moment, and it's the hobbying side of it in terms of build. I love building. I hate painting, and I do enjoy playing. So it'd be sort of playing, building, painting for me. So whenever I paint now, though, I try to keep everything to under 10 colours, so I can get through it quickly as well, and just keep some kind of level of enthusiasm. And shameless little plug, Colour Forged spray can rattle cans. Obviously, loads of colours, GW matched. And whenever I do an army now, I have a look at the Colour Forged website and go, can the primary colour be a Colour Forged can? So most of the hard work's already done, and I just need a shade and whatever. And I have loads of red left over from when I was doing the World Eaters. So I was like, well, seems stupid to spend any more money on rattle cans. So there's the corn red, and because they do a corn red spray, and they also do the piston red spray. So it was just hand in hand, nipped. So that's me now doing Blood Angels. But George very kindly lent me his entire Blood Angels army that he took to the South Coast over the weekend. And then I'm sure Steve doesn't know it yet, but I'll tell him tomorrow probably that I'm going to go get some of the models from the studio as well. I've got my own sort of list idea that I want to run along. I'll take that bad boy while I sort of carry on cracking on with some models.
So is this what we could potentially see at Oxford? And also, what's made you drop the Guard? What is it that you don't like about Astra Militarum?
I'm really good at not consistently sticking to an army. And Guard have been fun, and I enjoy playing the Guard because I don't have to think about them. I know their rules. I can, by the end of the day one, and by the 5th game or whatever, my head might start slightly melting, and something that I think is AP3 might actually be AP, whatever. So I have to double check. But for the most part, I don't have to think about playing Guard. But it's it's a little bit boring just indirecting people at the moment. And you can do the Gaylord route of obviously just trading crap infantry into the center and whatnot, but I just love the fight phase and walk around to the other side of the table when you're doing something and literally shoving your opponent over and then go, cool, now I'm going to fight you. And James asking about our journey in the chat.
He wants to know about your 7 army journey.
Yeah, he's a scoundrel. So it's an emotional roller coaster, knowing me, to say the least. So LGT, never played World Eaters, borrowed Liam Dempsey's World Eaters, took them to LGT. 1-2, lost 3, I think it was, or something like that. I then, from World Eaters, went over to Meta Chasing Hard, I think to Eldar at that point, I think, or I played some Guard in between, maybe. I then, on a Friday night before the GT on the Saturday, me and Jake I then went back to Votown for a little bit, and I've got army commitment issues. I never know what I want to collect, and I never know what I want to play. I have it for a couple of months. I get bored, I sell it, or I trade it. But so far this year, considering we're only in March, I've done World Eaters, Tau, Guard. I'm now on Blood Angels and Custodes. So I've already done 5 armies this year.
Right.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
That is some commitment issues. I mean, I wonder where that spanned from. I mean, this probably isn't the right episode for that. Maybe we'll do your mental health journey another day, and I can bring the...
Yeah, we can do that. Chris's daddy issues another day.
Yeah, Chris's daddy issues. Just don't cry on stream.
Again, that is available on the OnlyFans.
The crying, yeah.
Both the crying and the daddy issues.
With the 9-inch penis in hand.
Yeah.
Gently smacking it.
No, not the
cry.
Just another quick question. How big are your feet, Chris? Because that helps on OnlyFans as well.
Just the average size 11, I think they are.
Jesus. Flippers. Anyway, we're kind of going away from the point of trying to get you on OnlyFans, which is a bit weird. Anyway, we brought
crowd wants what
the crowd does want. I mean, Unstable Llama. He says there's no staying power. I beg to differ. That man's got size 11 feet. He has all the staying power.
It's the sticking around bit afterwards that's the issue.
Yeah. That's where the daddy issues come in, is it, Rich? Anyway, we're gonna move on. Let's talk about the meta now. So one of the things, it's not a Black Crow stream without some audio problems apparently, a few penis jokes, and also talking about the meta. So as we saw, David Gaylord, very well done. He won the South Coast GT that just went. Manny, obviously the other big tournament we had was he won the Northampton with Custodes. Now people were like, oh my god, Custodes. But Dom, who is normally on the channel, obviously couldn't make it tonight, he's been raving about Guard, saying Guard's 40% win rate isn't correct, isn't right. Now, David Gaylord has gone and went 7-0, and he held up a little sign, didn't he? Controversially, I guess, saying 40% win rate with Guard, and then the question marks or whatever. I don't know if he's doing like some secret message there, but I mean, me and Toby, we've had people saying to us for a little while that Guard are like secretly amazing, and that people don't understand why they're not being run more often. I personally think the reason they're not being run as often is because they're probably quite a ball ache to A, collect, B, paint, and it's also quite expensive, I imagine, to get everything you need. I mean, you got James Hobbies talking about the indirect with Guard is just way too strong. How do you feel about that? I mean, you've run Guard this weekend. You went 3-2?
Yeah, I mean, I went 3-2. 5th game, my brain wasn't, I only set out to go 3-2 this weekend, so I kept the same. So I went 2-1 at an RTT last weekend, the weekend before. The game I lost at the end was to the guy that won the event in the end. I lost by 5-10 points. Chaos Knights, they just, some bad dice rolls, etc. And, another long day, I'll start losing concentration by the end of the day. But I think when we're saying about the 40% win rate, I think the other thing people have to remember with that is there are a lot of guard players of different quality, if you like. And I certainly am not a fantastic guard player. I'm not a fantastic player overall. I went 3-2, but then, Gaylord is a fantastic player, and, he's got that very built list, and he takes it and he knows it very well. War Monster Will, rather, that's in the chat there, he runs guard all the time. He just runs it for fun. He doesn't really care about losing. He's just like, I've got some cool Bulgrin. He's got a fantastic Krieg converted army. Just runs it consistently, and it doesn't matter how many times people. I think guard players tend, for the most part, then most guard players aren't always podiuming, but they are just playing for fun. The indirect is obnoxious, as we've said. I tried running Medusas again this weekend. So at Beachhead, a individual took Medusas. They were really efficient because apparently they hit on freeze even when you don't have a Scout Sentinel all the time. So I threw them in a list, ran them at the RTT. I found them a bit too swingy. So, Gaylord's list with the 2 Mana Claws, 2 Basilisks, it is so oppressive. But I think part of it as well is you have to be lucky with your matchup. So that sort of MSU Eldar list at the moment that people are running into, whereas there's like 19 units and 11 of which shoot and scoot, hide behind buildings, all that sort of thing. You've only got 4 pieces of indirect. So at best, you're only picking up 4 units if you spike all your rolls. But you still got to hit, you still got to kill. Essentially, you don't kill it. That's now the second piece. So, you might only pick up 1 or 2 of these MSU units that are hiding behind buildings. So I think pairings is such a big part of it when you do look at people's path to victories and stuff like that as well. Guard do go nice into some stuff, but they also go horrendously into others.
One thing I'd be interested to hear from this weekend is how many times did you go first, and did you feel like that was a big swing? Because whenever we've spoken about guard before, it's always been if you go first, you just win. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think I went first twice. I think. And I think my list is about an example of it because I took the Medusas. They're quite swingy with how many shots you get, and then they've actually got a hit and all that sort of thing. But equally, when I do go first, you do see a massive difference because you do all your scout moves, and if they've infiltrated in or anything like that, they're the first things you indirect. What are the things that might score you your area of denial, or your investigate signal, or even your engage? And you just start trying to take out people's mission playing pieces. And if you especially second game I played, a good friend of mine, Phil, he had some scouts and stuff, and he was playing the Space Marine, the Iron Storm, or whatever it is, all the vehicles. And as soon as I started picking out his action playing pieces, he now has to invest all that. Your opponent has to invest some of the bigger pieces, or even go the wrong direction to go score their secondaries, especially if they haven't taken fixed. So that indirects for picking out those bits, and then you just trade afterwards, and as long as you're scoring your points. And another thing I'm always reminded of, and I always do forget, and I always have to remind myself of, is you don't need to remove your opponent from the table to win. You just need to score. And even if you're tabled by the end of the game, if you've denied the primary, if you've denied them scoring secondary, you still win. So, and Guard do that very well, the trading piece, especially with bringing stuff back, the 2 CP. Cool, you killed the Catachans. Well, they come back to life. Oh, you killed the Cascarin now. They come back to life. Or the extra, when your Cascarin go down to 1 or 2 units and you tactically move them through your opponent's vehicle. So on 1s and 2s, they die. And people are looking at them, well, why are you trying to kill your Cascarin? Because if I kill them now, I can bring them back in my reinforcement step, in the strat reserve step at the end of this. So if I can kill them 2 Cascarin, bringing them back. Or in a charge phase, when you send 1 Cascarin into something horrendous to get blitzed, why are you charging him? So I can bring him back. Just never ending, hundreds of points, recycled. And Lord Solar giving you the 2 CP every turn, you've got something coming back every turn.
That's a really quite thematic way of doing it. Like, some people out there probably look at that being like, oh, that's really gamey. But actually, when I think of Astra Militarum or as Imperial Guard, when I started, that's what they were. Throwing units into the meat grinder, deliberately killing them off, is actually a very Imperial Guard Astra. Yeah, it's very Guard thing. They're disposable, right? It's not like the same as losing a Space Marine. Like Dom saying there, he loves a caster can sacrifice. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. You know, and the next thing you know, they'll be all dead, and then you get your whole unit back sat on that objective, and then you're like, oh wait a minute, I now out OC you because I've got a 20-man blob or whatever it is sat on the objective. Very effective tactic, and very sacrificial. Lambs to the slaughter, shall we say? I like that. So, are you going to feel weird, like going away from this sort of guard army, which, let's be honest, isn't a fight phase army? It's a I'm going to shoot you and try and just live on objectives type of army. To now go into Marines.
Yeah, so because I've enjoyed playing the World Eaters, there is something satisfying in just not having a shooting phase and just going, I'm just going to charge.
Yeah,
that's all I'm interested in. I just want to yeet myself up the board and just go punch something in the face. And then normally it's all over by turn 3 or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm going to lose this. Or, you know, as I said, by turn 3, you've blocked them in that much, whether it's World Eaters or hopefully it's going to be with the Blood Angels. You've pushed them back into their own corner so much that you can't do anything about it. And they're like, oh, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. But as we just mentioned, they haven't scored secondaries, they haven't scored primaries. So you can kill me all you like. I've denied you winning. And that, again, as you say, kind of maybe seems gamey, like, oh, well, you know, they can't score and I've made it very, like, not interactive. Unfortunately, that's also the game, isn't it? You know, no one pays to go to an event to really lose. And sometimes, as we go sportsmanship and all that, you still want to win. And if that's the way that you have to win, that's the way you have to win.
I mean, it's just playing the game that was written for you, right? Like, you're manipulating the rules in a way that favour your army so that you can win the game. That's not unsportsmanship. That's just playing the game to the rules as written. I've never had a problem with that. People, if you've got an opinion saying that you don't agree that that's okay, maybe you're looking at the rules and the way the game is played incorrectly. Maybe that's a problem with yourself. Like, I personally,
and that was a really big realization for me with, especially the VT group, I suppose, when I was in a very different mindset of gaming. So then, when I started interacting, I played Tyrannid Monster Mash when they first got their 9th edition codex, and I took all the Carnifexes, Tyrannifexes, and all that sort of thing. And I played an Eldar player who I think it was Harlequins or whatever mixture, and so he would come out, shoot me, come back in. Obviously, being a monster, I couldn't go through the walls. So I think for 3 or 4 turns, I'm trying to move forwards, and I physically cannot interact with him. And I was just like, well, this isn't fun. Like, I can't do anything about it. And I mentioned something about it into the like a VT chat group, and a couple of people were like, yeah, but if he won, then that's how he wins. And I was like, well, you're bullshit. That's not how you play this game. You're supposed to, you know, I'm supposed to have fun as well. And then I kind of was like, actually, yeah, annoyingly, they were right. And that's probably actually where then my competitive brain started to really engage a bit more of, you know, I don't need to kill the opponent. I don't need to interact with the opponent. I just need to score, and I just, you know, score effectively and efficiently, consistently, and you can win. And, you know, it may not seem that fun, but if a trophy means loads to you, that's fine. But as I said, by game 3 on day 1, and normally by game 5, I'm pretty done by then anyway. And it just kind of turns into, can I harass my opponent enough verbally, making them laugh, that they can't concentrate anymore? So whether that's dicking or, you know, just telling them they can't do something.
Bullying Jake. Back to bullying Jake, are we?
Yeah.
Seems to be your staple. I quite like that though. I think me and Toby had a similar point. So like, Toby came over to mine and we played a game, and this is when Toby had only just really started getting into competitive 40k. Like, I brought him into it and absolutely smashed crap out of him at mine. And Toby was kind of like at a mindset, it was like, oh, I don't get it. And then I was like, well, no, this is what we need to do. You're looking at the game, you're planning for something that hasn't happened yet. You don't know what your cards are. If you're going tactical, you're planning before you've drawn. And then you could see the light bulb go off in Toby's head. It was beautiful. And now I've turned him into the little monster that he is, and he's improved huge amounts. And he's doing extremely well. But then all of a sudden he started coming up with lists where, like, he was using bikes to and he'd be like, "Oh, these are just my 80-point trade unit." And what are they 80 points, Toby? What were you doing with them?
So back originally, Outriders were like 105 or maybe 110 in Index Hammer, and I was still using them because they were really quick. Because after that game, I'd brought Azrael, a lieutenant, and 10 Hellblasters because the damage output seemed bonkers, especially with old oaths, and they did nothing. Because they couldn't get around the board, they couldn't get into a position where they could actually do anything relevant, and even with their shoot on death, they just died. So I ended up with these bikes with Outriders instead because they were quick, they're 3-inch bases, and they move block. And I just haven't put them down since. And it's I'm trying to think of another army's version of it. I mean, I guess they're like the Catachans for guard, that they're quite quick with their scout moves. So they just here is bodies, either deny primary or do random secondary.
And someone they have to, your opponent has to spend a resource to do something about them, which is then a resource they're not using on something else. And if it works, it works. Like you said about planning ahead.
Yeah.
One I always laugh about is investigate signals. Like every turn, I'm always, first thing I'm doing, I'm planning for an investigate signals all the time. And I even do it when I've taken fixed by accident. It's like, investigate signals. And I'm like, no, I don't need to worry about that. And objectives as well. Of, like, again, the VT. The one time I did the VT Academy for a week before I sacked it in, one of the biggest takeaways I ever got from that was you don't need to be on every objective. When I first started, Joe Coles, funny enough, there when he was VT, worked at Factorum, now he's with Liam Dempsey. He essentially taught me competitive 40k, and one of the things, big takeaways was I used to always just be like, well, I need to be on every objective, so I'd, send stuff out everywhere, and actually. It's this pyramid, triangle of this is the one I'm keeping at all times. This is the one I'm going to try and keep and reinforce, and then that's the one I'm going to trade on. As long as you're consistently scoring on 2 objectives, you trade on the third, and maybe you push, towards their home objective or anything like that. But my brain didn't work like that to begin with, and as you said, it's not until you pay someone like Aaron or whatever, and someone kind of just takes that moment to explain to you what their thought process is. You're like, okay, this all makes sense, and then you start getting your own ideas. And you mentioned about the Outriders, and I'm sure so many people are like, well, why do you even take that? They're crap, because they do what I want them to do, and then people watch you play with them, and like, oh, they're actually really good. But obviously, you have to design your list accordingly, don't you? So
they are super fucking annoying to play against as well. FYI. So when Toby, obviously, me and Toby went to an RTT, and we, unfortunately, to go 3-0 at this RTT, we both drew each other. And bless him, we were both gutted, because you never like to have to beat your teammate to go 3-0, right? Like, it's not nice. And Toby, he did the Outriders thing, and I was just sat there thinking, I fucking hate those Outriders. And I've now got to commit one of my rapid ingress, because I play Custodes. I'm a big Custodes fanboy, and I would rapid ingress like 3 or 4 units in one turn, because you could do that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to do this now, and I really don't want to, but it just forced me to have to deal with them because they were on the center objective. They were really fucking annoying. They were just there. They were, how many OC are they, Toby?
2 apiece.
So they're like 6 OC, massive bases, 4 wounds each, aren't they? Toughness?
Yes.
Toughness 5?
How excited he is, like, yeah.
Like 3+ save, and then you're getting cover because they've got these massive bases and you can hide a little pissing wheel of it. And I'm like, oh, you're such a wanker.
I think my favourite moment, and I ended up calling my list was this for a while, was when we had the local one, and I ended up doing all right. So I ended up in a Goonhammer article, and I think he put like something like some interesting choices about my list, which was definitely about the Outriders, and I was like, right, that is my list name for the next month. and I consistently did that. I think I took it to Leicester with that stupid name as well, and then probably got my ass handed to me by Tom Dooch. So it was a quick fall from grace. But yeah, I stand by the Outriders, and I like that diversity that we've got in 10th at the moment, that we can have so many somewhat weird choices. I do think that's potentially a downside with Guard right now, because I think it's almost solved. You bring your Casachans, you bring your Kasakin, you bring your indirect package, and you bring Bulgrin and Leonatus. Done. And I can see why that might get a bit...
Go on, Kris, what are you saying?
People want to, people also play Guard because they just want to run loads of fucking tanks. Like, tanks are cool, like, in real life and in the game.
They are
cool. But then you're taking tanks as Guard that at best they're hitting on 4s unless they've got orders, so now you have to buy tank commanders, now you've got to bring Leonidas. At that point, you might as well just take Knights, because they're just doing it better. And it's a bit of a shame, and hopefully when their detachment comes around, there'll be some nice thematic, armoured regiment stuff, or, back to the old tank rules of, got turret weapons, so they now just hit on 3s at all times, or anything like that. I'd love to run 3 Rogel Dawns, and be able to issue them orders nicely without having to take Leonidas and a tank commander, and then spend the money to put him in a command squad so that he can cast the orders out far enough and all that sort of thing. But right now, as you said, it's kind of the Gaylord build, if you like, of you take 30 Casper and you take some indirect, and people can't move. You've screened out your backfield because you've got 4 bits of artillery tanks sitting back there, plus Leonidas and all that sort of thing. And it's just, it'll be nice when they get something new. It will be. But until then, let's just get into the fight. Let's just charge.
Yeah, until then, it's Blood Angel time, which actually is a nice new change that we saw in the data state, because that Sons of Sanguinius detachment, let's be honest, it was probably one of the weakest detachments available. But now it's looking pretty tasty. I am going to imagine there's going to be instead of maybe Blood Angels, it's a little bit Death Company. How is that list looking?
So Jake kind of had the conversation about what we're going to do. So I really wanted to do Flesh Tearers and have Gabriel Seth. I've got the Gabriel Seth model and kind of go, that's what I want to run. But characters like Lamart, he's just too good not to take. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll convert a Gabriel, because I've got 2 China cards, don't tell anyone, versions of him. So, I might convert one up as a captain or something like that for a jetpack, or big jetpack on him. But yeah, it's looking with, so Lamarties, Judissa, Captain with jump pack, Sangri Priest with jetpack, 2 sets of assault intercessors, 2 or 3 sets of jump pack assault intercessors, 1 blob of Death Company, 1 blob of Vanguard vets, a Land Raider,
Is that Redeemer?
Just a normal straight up Land Raider, and then some Voidsman at arms, because there was 50 points left over. I didn't know what to spend them on, and then 3 sets of scouts. The scout models don't come out for another week, so I might not do as many scouts. I might just go down to 2 sets of scouts and then invest some points somewhere else. Maybe I'll take some Outriders now. Maybe I'll relook at that one.
I wouldn't in not Firestorm. The only reason that I play them is Firestorm, because I can auto advance in the 6 inches and still do actions. So avoid Outriders if you can't do the auto advance and still shoot.
Even with the Samsung Green, it's just the fact that chainswords are now strength 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they AP -1 or -2? Can you buff them?
Yeah, -1. You probably can buff them, but that means I've actually got to read the Blood Angel rules first. That's a future Kris problem at the moment. But yeah, strength 6, definitely strength 6 -1, and there's just so many of them. That's winning on 3s and getting rerolls, especially if you've oafed something. That's pretty horrendous.
Yeah,
Power Fist stuff to strength 10. I think the Power Fist starts at strength 8 or strength 7. I can't remember. Now strength 10. You're punching a rhino in the face now and wounding it on 3s. Popping the transport, and then whatever's in it, if you're not if you've managed to wrap it with a 5-6 man blob, big enough charge or whatever, because they've got big movement on them, then whatever's in it now has to emergency disembark. So dying on 1s and 2s now, pretty damn good.
Yeah, I
think absolutely.
I watched it. You mentioned Joe Coles actually. When that dropped, that's under Sanguinius. I watched Liam's show with Joe, and he was like straight up, I want to take this Blood Angel list, which is very similar to what you said, where he just wanted all the jump pack boys because he was just like strength 10 power fist. Like he had already kind of come up with a similar idea. So it was quite interesting to see. I think it's such a cool way to build Blood Angels though as well. Loads of speed, loads of jump pack guys, loads of power fists, all of the just bodies everywhere, jumping into combat and just doing world eaters better than world eaters.
12-inch move on the jetpack assault intercessors. Get some advance and charge off or whatever. You can absolutely make some first turn charges if people position badly on you as well.
Yeah.
So it goes back to that. Doing world eaters better than world eaters to a degree. At least they've got stuff to trade that aren't expensive resources.
That's right.
Whether that's 3 sets of scouts sat in the middle just screening and, scout move forwards and now your opponent's blocked in their half or their corner. And then the rest of your army moves up, especially on UKTC terrain, stages itself in each building. As they come out, you just, again, feed the grinder and trade effectively and just win.
Wow.
Jordan from VT, he religiously plays Blood Angels. He only owns Blood Angels army. He has good days, he has bad days, as everyone does with their matchups. But his ride or die is Dante, the character. I don't obviously have that character, but our list building is different. But it's sort of basically the same. Of just eat forwards and go punch people in the face and watch Death Company weapons just smash people apart.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that with my custodes. I love just throwing my custodes into fire and just hoping that there's still some boots left standing at the end of it. I think what we're going to do, we're going to move on a little bit, because I did want to talk to you about the Meta Monday article. I thought it'd be quite cool for us to bring that up. It is the Meta Monday, and we did have the South Coast happen this weekend, but there are also other big tournaments happening around the world. So we'll just have a look at the Meta Monday. So let's bring that up and interact with that. So the largest tournament actually that happened this weekend was the Clutch City GT in Houston, Texas, which had 154 players play 6 rounds. And this is really strange because you can never work out really because we don't know what terrain they're using. But Dark Angels went 6-0 in Ironstorm, Chaos Demons went 6-0, Thousand Suns 5-1, Custodes, which we were all expecting 5-1, Guard 5-1, and Blood Angels 5-1. Now we could keep going on, but I think it's quite interesting that like Chaos Demons 6-0, Dark Angels 6-0. Big tournament. No one's expecting that. What do you reckon, Toby, to the Chaos side, the Demon side of it?
The Demon side? I thought you were going to ask me about the Dark Angel side, because that's my main faction. Well, the Demon side, I'm not surprised. I think they've got a lot of play, and they've got a 3-inch deep strike ability, which is very good into guard. You can 3-inch deep strike, take out Leonatus's command squad with flamers and things like that. They've got some good character assassination, which I think is really key right now. And Nurglings are an absolute nightmare for these bum rush armies. And we've discussed this before. The meta is currently bum rush armies and mech armies. Demons kind of fall into the mech armies weirdly. Yeah, there we go. All the Nurglings. And Nurglings are the best unit in the game, it seems, to just stop people from letting their army do anything, especially on the way that on some maps and some deployments. So that's probably why Demons is doing there. In all honesty, I really want to talk about that Dark Angels list because it was double Storm Raven.
I deliberately didn't want you to do this because I knew you'd have a hard-on over this list. And
it was a double Storm Raven gunship list.
Go on.
What mad lad went, you know what? Fuck it. Double Storm Ravens is going to drop Redemptor Dreadnoughts out and it's going to fuck shit up. That is brilliant. I honestly, and the only reason it's Dark Angels is because they can play Azrael. The list is so CP hungry, and Azrael is the cheapest way to consistently get CP in Space Marines, and it will be why Dark Angels get a nerf if they do get nerfed. It's just because Azrael is so cheap to do it in. 200 points for that unit with the company heroes, which currently we can't do as of this Saturday, because thank you, new codex. But that combo, -1 to wound, 4 up and memorable save, 4 wounds a model. It's so tanky. So that's why it's Dark Angels. It's exclusively that. I don't think it has anything other Dark Angel related units in there. But my God, that was a cool looking army. I'd really want to do a Firestorm version where you just like when the Storm Raven gets shot, you Burning Vengeance out a Redemptor Dreadnought and shoot them back.
I've heard about this combo.
Yeah.
You know what, though? It's actually quite thematic for a Blood Angels player to have Storm Ravens. Just saying. Because carrying the Librarian Dreadnoughts on the back. Are the Librarian Dreadnoughts even good?
They are.
I don't know. I'd have to have a look.
Yeah, so Librarian Dreadnoughts, I've seen them used, but mostly that was in like the Centurion meta. Like they would just start tossing Centurions around the map to get the key angles to then just like las cannon down whatever it was that they were going up against. But with the change to Centurions, I think Centurions have really fallen out of favor. So Libby Dreads might be a bit out, but equally, Blood Angels.
They said that the Bjorn or whatever, the Space Wolves Dreadnought that can fight or shoot when it's being hit. They allow it to do it more than once per phase. And at an event recently, there was the Dreadnought that basically in the melee phase went through 6 different units just bounced because it gets to consolidate. They just dropped it in and amongst the lines. It got hit, so they got to fight. Cool, consolidate. You now have to fight me, so I now get to fight back. Cool, move again. You have to hit me, and it stopped when it got to a piece of armor, and I think it just left it on a wound or two. It just didn't quite kill it, and that's the only reason it stopped. And it just chewed through over 1,000 points of models. Just done. Cool.
That's actually really cool. It's so cool. I would hate to be
do it once, so.
I'd hate to be on the receiving end of that, though.
Yeah, it's only fun when you're given.
Yeah, right.
No one wants to. No one wants to take.
No one likes taking, as we discussed earlier. So we talked about the South Coast, the South Coast Super Major. So we know that David Gaylard with his 7-0 guard list did the Grey Knights, baby, are back.
Ed smashed it with his Grey Knights. I think he was equally shocked when he was doing it. So at this point, he was playing the list that came third to that, the Eldari list. So me, Jake, were watching James play Gaylard at the time with his Tau, who came fourth. And I mean, Ed was just chilling beans. He was just supping Carlsberg and living his best life, and he just couldn't believe he was there. But again, it was that stark reminder that you don't need to pick up your opponent to win a game. You know those Grey Knights. You give them an inch, and they take a mile with deep striking in. Whether it's within 3 inches or whatever, and that's what he kept doing. Was there was a gap that essentially the Eldari player, I think he shooted and scooted and he moved back off an objective for some reason. Ed stopped him and was like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, you're moving off the objective and you're doing that. And he was like, yeah, that's my intention. He was like, all right then, cool. I've offered you the take back. I've reminded you. And he chose not to. And then, it just deep struck in and just denied loads of primary and just ruined it. But I think everyone was shocked to see him there. And, again, everyone's saying, guard, 40% win rate, Grey Knights are down there, Tau, and here they were in the top 4 armies. Like 4 people, 4 different teams, 4 different factions, and none of them were Space Marines.
Yeah, on that Tau point, I do think they've benefited quite a bit from that mission change with the UKTC. Missions 3 and 4 I feel like they're massively beneficial for Tau because the amount of firing lanes you get, like that center is just, it's like a yawning hippo's arse. It is wide open.
Like Jake when I'm finished with him.
Grey and saggy and walking like he's ridden a fucking rhino.
I mean, so as I said, James in chat is the chat that went forth there with his Tau list, but the big one that he consistently has the arguments about is, say, he hasn't got cyclic iron blasters on any of his crisis suits. He's got plasma and missile pods. So everyone has got used to cyclic iron blasters. You have to have that slightly closer proximity to shoot, etc. And there's such a weight of dice. They pick up whatever they look at or whatever. But James with his plasma and his missile pods, as he consistently argues in his stupid West Country accent all the time, is, all right, there's less shots, but when plasma goes through, it's a dead Marine every time. And, because they're, minus 3 damage or whatever they are. So it's killing whatever they shoot in once it goes through. Yes, you've got to make less armor saves, but, you're making less, but it's doing more. And he has a greater range as well with the missile pods. And again, the missile pods are like strength 7 minus 2 damage, but they've got the range. So he's able to hold his crisis suits back, and especially on that UKTC terrain where there are some really good firing lanes. And he's got, I think he's 4 to 6 broadsides. I can't remember off the top of my head. He puts them in strat reserve, leaves them off. He'll just walk them on. So when he's coming up against them, Dark Angel, Ironstorm Mist, etc., he just brings them on and goes, "Cool. Reference your repulsor is dead," or reference, the executioner is dead. And there's nothing you can really do about it because you've got 2-3 broadsides getting guided by Tetras. There you go. He's got 6 broadsides and 3 pairs. They just look at whatever they want and just, yeah, it's dead. Reroll. I'm doing full rerolls. Like, I'm hitting it and I am wounding it because it's strength 16 or whatever it is. I'm sustaining and all that nonsense. So yeah, it's just the indirect was obviously just a bit too much, and not being able to interact with Gaylord was just, Guard being able to hide, and Gaylord's guard list, I think in the chat, someone's asked what it was. It was like 2 Manticores, 2 Basilisks, 3 sets of 10 Cascarin, some Catachan, an infantry platoon squad, Creed, and a Chimera. And essentially the main bit of it was the Chimera tucks itself into the building, and you just feed Cascarin into the center and you reinforce them. Every time they die, you put a new one in, and so one steps on the board. The one that stepped on the board in the previous turn has now moved and mounted into the Chimera to launch in the next one, and you just keep feeding them the screens out there. And there's a lot of 6 Bullgrin, I think it is as well. And they're just 4 up invulnerable, 6 up feel no pain, -1 damage. Like they're just a meat shield. It's a great big beat stick. And again, strength 7, -1 2 damage. They hurt when they actually do hit. Hitting all 3s, you can make it 2s. Kind of goes through eventually, like that amount of dice, 4 dice each. So,
wow, interesting list. I mean, I think what a lot of people were expecting after the Northampton GT, especially in the UK, that they thought Custodes would now, like Toby and Dom were like, "Aaron, you're going to take this, you're going to take this," and I was like, "No, I don't think it's a good idea," because I think people are going to tech into what Custodes will do, and now Custodes, they're still doing well, but there's something to say about the meta. So pre-Data Slate, the meta was CSM, Eldari, or the other way around. Occasionally you might see like an Orcs win, but predominantly the top, it was overpopulated, weren't it, Toby? We were bored of talking about it. We just stopped looking at the meta for a while because it was just constantly the same factions. And it was just 2 factions that were winning everything. Whereas now you look at it
as well. Like,
sorry, what was that?
And the same copy and pasted list as well. It's just the same.
It was boring. Whereas now, look at it. This is the South Coast Super Major. Guard, Grey Knights, Eldari, Tau, Custodes, Thousand Sons, Drakari, Eldari, Custodes, Necrons, Death Guard, Black Templars. Like, several different factions represented there. Then if we go back to the one at the top, it's again the same. Several different factions represented. We weren't getting that pre-Data Slate, so I think this just shows that we're moving in the right direction. If we have a look at the Toronto Winter Open 2024, 87 players, so again, a large amount of players. That was Sisters. Unfortunately, we are seeing Eldari. Eldari are just flat good. They're always going to be good. Chaos Demons, Necrons, CSM, Dark Angels, Drakari, Space Wolves. So we're still seeing these armies go up. A 78-player one in Denmark, Thousand Suns, Chaos Demon, Tau, Black Templars, Drakari, Necron. This has probably been the most varied meta we've seen over the last 6 months. What do you think, Kris? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so, and it is nice to see, and it's nice to play. I think there was a big thing about, I feel, a conversation we had as well at South Coast was, so there was a massive influx of Custodes players, absolutely, there was loads of them, but they all paired into each other early on, and I know that's luck of the draw, and you can't foresee what you're going to match into, but I feel because there were so many Custodes players doing that mirror match, that they started tinkering down a little bit, because they're just playing each other, and it almost comes into who gets first turn when they're mirror matching. But the armies that seem to do so well again now are the ones that are able to do MSU, and I know Custodes are sort of very elite heavy, and you've got all your fight first nonsense and your durables, anything now. But Eldari that are still there, the good Eldari players have just changed the way they do things rather than taking the blocks. Now they've gone, I'm going to take all 3 sets of Warpsiders, 3 sets of Swooping Hawks, 3 sets of whatever, and they're just all action pieces. And it comes back into that what we were saying earlier, that you don't have to table your opponent to win a game, you just need to score. But it has made for a more interesting time, at least, when people are playing. And you're seeing more armies now, so you are learning other armies. I mean, this is where people like me with commitment issues suffer, because you play an army, you're like, I actually really like that army. I like what you did with that, and then you find yourself buying it.
I think there's something to be said for the major change with this data slate, which was Josh Roberts. Let's be honest, he started writing a lot of these rules. And obviously he's coming from a heck of a lot of experience, and I can't actually see the tournament there for some reason, which is quite a surprise. But the other very big tournament we had was Goonhammer.
There it is.
They had there it is.
But they actually only had 49 players.
Well, I can tell you who won it. It was Josh. Who also won Nottingham with exactly the same list, and kicked my ass with it in Northampton as well. My worst ever loss, 100-15. I got more points by painting my fucking models. Absolutely joyous game. It was fantastic. Josh is a phenomenal guy. But yeah, that was rather brutal. But I honestly, I think
even take you out for dinner first, really, did he? Just
no lube whatsoever, none at all. But.
And there's nothing worse than getting dry bombed by someone when they're so lovely about it as well.
I know.
It's like, I want to hate you, dick. That was a good game. It's so infuriating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the nice thing is, in that kind of situation, you can go, right, I looked at my round 1 pairing, saw Josh Roberts, and just went, cool, I guess I'm going to have a lion. But then I was like, no, fuck it. I'll go and actually play. And yeah, got absolutely spanked by 10 o'clock in the morning. I think we were also one of the first games to finish as well. It's a little bit humiliating, but the guy is so humble about it as well, and so intelligent when it comes to the rules. So I think what we're going to see.
So he writes them.
Well, exactly, and I think this is the thing. Future feels very bright because of that, and it feels a bit silly being like, oh my god, here's the Messiah. It's not one bloke that sort of everything
Can we do this properly, Toby? If you're going to start.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. There we go. He isn't the God Emperor, but I think having those competitive players, someone who is ex-Team England, that's going to bring in so much more positivity to the meta and to competitive play. And, to be fair, hats off to GW for actually starting to take notice of competitive play, of, bringing Josh in, of pairing with the WTC. I think it's going to be really positive going forward. So very excited about that.
Yeah, it seems that everything is going in the right direction, and I think it's probably a good time for us to start reining it in.
Sorry,
go on.
You go on, Toby. You've got something white around your mouth from talking about that there.
Yeah, no, it's Josh left it there from 2 weeks ago, and I haven't washed it off yet.
Yeah.
You should not look at the other side, honestly.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
World War II. It's like that, but with more white in it.
He hasn't stopped looking like Krusty the Clown for ages.
Mate, I've walked like John Wayne. It's brilliant.
Leaving them. Do you guys think they made a mistake with Necrons, leaving them so brutal? No, come on, Dom. Josh is doing that deliberately so he can go off and win shit.
So he actually explained that to me, and when they started writing that data slate, they hadn't. Necrons hadn't come out yet, so they were already and that's because of things like translation, and things like that. Like they couldn't start going right. Okay, we're gonna nerf XYZ because they had zero data to go on. So I think that was a really interesting point of how to do it. It's why AdMech didn't get boosted as well. But they're more than aware of it now. They know that Necrons are going to get a bit of a nerf, and let's be honest, we know which bits of Necrons are going to get a nerf. We know that it's the characters. We know that it's the Catan. The slightly less, well, if you could predict it, it'd be a heck of a hot take, but I don't know how they're going to rebalance AdMech. I like what they did with the rebalance of Jakari. I think not just going super cheap, but just going right. Okay, new detachment. I thought that was quite cool, but AdMech, they've got their codex. I'm not sure how that's going to go.
I'm not an AdMech player, so it's not something I really know much about. But I'm sure there'll be some AdMech player out there who have their opinion on this. Maybe we can ask them in the future. I think we're going on now. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna end the stream here. We're gonna say our thanks. Kris, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on, mate. You've been an absolute pleasure to have on. Good laugh, which is exactly what we like to have on here. Obviously, you're representing Vanguard Tactics. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Is there anything you want to say about them? You can sell the brand now as much as you like. Here's your time to shine before I go into doing our sponsors.
You know what? This would mean I actually know loads about Vanguard Tactics, wouldn't it, in terms of that? So absolutely tune in on a Wednesday night where we're streaming 1900, 7 o'clock GMT time. Stick around, try to get a free membership. You get a free membership, you get some access to sort of the masterclass lessons and stuff if you like. Saves you $4.99, but you might pick up some hints and tricks. If you're new to 40k and you have some money to burn, then the academy could be for you. There's a trial period essentially. You get a month, you get your money back or whatever, but it doesn't mean you don't complete the academy sort of thing. But you can give it a bash if it's for you. But just as a whole, every little helps. Just even if it's just a drop in, like and subscribe on the channel. Equally, I'm in an arms race with James on Instagram, so come give me a like on Instagram as well, so I can beat that nerd at something that's not 40k. That'd be great. He's going to send me some messages of abuse in a bit, but no, I'm not going to try to sell anything. I don't know. That's the brutal honesty of it. I'm just a shining beacon of hope that there are normal people at Vanguard Tactics.
Yeah, I think you are, and so this goes on to nicely because the person who's probably not so normal, who we've got on next week we are being joined by Vanguard Tactics' very own Jake. He's going to get to come on live and have his own back on all of the abuse you've been able to give him tonight, Kris. So
what I plan on going to his house Monday night next week.
Oh my God!
When he least expects.
That'd be very funny if we've got him on stream, just see your face in the background in like the behind the curtain.
Dick measurement stick just appears on his camera.
Yeah. Get the 1-incher out. Anyway, we'll carry on. So we are proudly sponsored by Terrain Forge. They are a terrain making company local to us, and they have done the amazing Black Crow Gaming terrain. If you are interested in some awesome custom design terrain, go to our link, which is in our description. And when you go into it in the code, if you put BCG5, you get 5% off. I'm just going to play you guys a little quick ad just so you can see the Terrain Forge.
And where down we go, where down we go, say where down we go, cause say we run you down to your car, way down.
So that is the Terrain Forge. He made that specifically for us at Black Crow Gaming. I had that done to our measurements. We wanted it slightly bigger than UKTC terrain because we think that actually the current terrain that is out in the meta at the minute is a little bit too small. So we were like, actually, we'd like it to be a slightly bit bigger. So we asked that. It's only an inch or so bigger, but as we discussed earlier in the stream, every inch counts. And the Terrain Forges are there. If you want your own design, I know recently he's just done a massive order for the guys in Wales. Team Wales did some WTC terrain for them, so you can just contact him, tell him exactly what you want, and he'll make you this custom terrain set for you. And as you can see from our ad, it looks great. We've been Black Crow Gaming. We've had Kris on with us tonight. I've just got to say a massive thank you for tuning in. If you like what you see, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later. Thank you very much. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.